The title of the book is Healing Outreach to Men Everywhere, and it is 154 pages long. It has 21 video and audio files, so it's an interactive book. It is the first version of this is targeted to incarcerated men in this country. No matter where you are, no matter who you are, healing is possible.
Welcome to Just Healing, where we rediscover humanity in our conversations around trauma and celebrate all the unique ways we love and heal. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Just Healing. And we are in for a great discussion because Men Healing just dropped something very, very special. And we have a great guest who's going to talk about it with us. And her name is Sandi Forti. And why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, Deborah. Yeah, my name is Sandra Forti. People call me Sandy, and I am a clinical psychologist in Columbus, Ohio. I've been working in the area of trauma recovery for a very long time, as you
For
can tell
many
by my gray
years.
hair. For many years. Yeah,
Yeah.
many years.
Yeah. And you work in the weekends of recovery and all kinds of stuff.
I've been a facilitator in the weekends of recovery back when we were doing them through the Male Survivor Organization. And it's this summer, it will be 19 years that I've been working with doing weekends of recovery. My very first client in private practice many years ago was a male survivor. Kind of put me
Oh,
on the path.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you may have been one of the facilitators when my husband went through it of a day of recovery or something like that years ago at
Could be.
IVAC. Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Long time ago. Yep.
It was a long time ago, but it was about
Yep.
that time when you started. Yep. But we have some exciting stuff that's happening right
We do.
now in Men Healing and Organization. And it has to do with a book that is being put out. So why don't
Yes.
we talk about that a little bit?
Well, the title of the book is Healing Outreach to Men Everywhere, and it is, and HOME is the acronym, is the short version of that. And it is 154 pages long. It has 21, I believe, 21 video and audio files. So it's an interactive book. It is the first version of this is targeted to incarcerated men in this country. The idea was brought to me by somebody, an alum from the Weekends of Recovery. I picked it up and it's been 3.5 years that we've been working on this. There's a whole committee that's worked on it. And it has information, all kinds of information about the reality of the impact of sexual assault on boys and how that impact extends into adulthood. And when this person brought this idea to me, we started doing some investigation and realized that between 56%, that's the official number, the official percentage of incarcerated men in this country that have a sexual assault history. The people on the inside, because we've had committee members and people who have made contributions to the book who actually work in the prison system, say that they feel that it's up to 80%. It's as much as 80% of incarcerated men. You think about that and you pair that with the sexual assault history and their position as incarcerated men, it makes a lot of sense to provide information on the impact, not myths, not crazy stuff that we think about with men who were sexually abused, and all kinds of support and techniques and information about how to cope with that on the inside, behind bars. It has a great impact.
It does. And, Jen was sharing some of the numbers of, because we already have it on tablets, right, in the prison
We
system,
do.
and people are looking at it. And those numbers are amazing about how many people it's reached, right?
It's amazing that it is the latest information that I have is that the book is on tablets in 1,185 prisons in this country, and has been uploaded to almost 1 million tablets. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. And it
Right.
goes to tablets for men and women, and all of the information of the techniques for healing are all applicable to women as well. So we're hoping that there'll be a crossover there.
Right. There is definitely transferable. I mean, I've read it, I've looked at it, like
I
it's
know.
and there's worksheets, like everything, right? And from the tablet work, we're calling it an ebook, but it's actually going to be in printed form, right? On many of the retailers on Amazon,
Very
Barnes and
soon.
Noble, all over the place.
Very soon. Very soon. And the other thing that I didn't mention about the book is that it is also beautifully illustrated. And
Yes.
it's beautifully illustrated. And there's 4 characters that our graphic artist Jordan took that 4 characters through from childhood through adolescence through adulthood. So you meet these characters and follow them through their journey of being children and being confused and hurt to being adolescents and angry to being incarcerated and trying to figure out how the heck did I get here?
Yeah. And there's a story that kind of fits everybody in there, which I thought was very unique, and the
Absolutely.
characters are very multicultural. They don't look one way. But the other part I liked was the videos. There was links, right, to different videos that people could watch about the people's journeys and stories.
Right. Right. And there's also an emphasis. We have somebody on our committee who is Rich Sims, who is a somatic educator. And I have a background also in working with people somatically. And so between the two of us, we inserted a lot of information about settling in one's own body when you get triggered. And it might be about being triggered about the sexual abuse history, but it might just be triggered about being mad about something somebody did to you behind bars, right? And the guards treating you poorly or another inmate that's giving you a hard time. Jordan, change inmate, please, to incarcerated individuals. So incarcerated individuals that are having a conflict inside. And so lots of information on how to settle in one's body so that your behavior can be different and you don't end up in solitary and you don't end up with other consequences that are make your stay more difficult.
Right. And a person living with incarceration, I mean, they have like different ways that they cope. And sometimes they're maladaptive ways, right? So you hear someone say they
Very
go to
much so.
solitary or they end up, on suicide watch or, some ADSEG, which is for people who are in disciplinary issues, right? And there's different ways. And I remember there was a technique that I learned from you actually when we were talking about things to put in a book, and it was the finger tap, right? And just
Yes.
be able to tap and on your side. I mean, explain that a little bit because I think people really get how powerful this book can be for people.
Well, before I even go there, and I will explain that, I do want to say that we really worked hard on a whole chapter on dealing with suicidal ideation and suicidal intention and how to de-escalate from those. And so the finger tapping is just simply using a somatic cue, and it can be I'm doing it on my shoulder because you can see it, but you can do it on your lap. You could do it on the side of your face, someplace where nobody else is going to know what you're doing, but you do it in time with your breath so
Hmm.
that you can slow your breathing down. And when you slow your breathing down, you slow your mind down. And when you slow your mind down and your breathing, then your body relaxes. And you don't have to be sort of a puppet on the end of the string of more intense emotional reaction. You get yourself back together, get your mind calm, and respond to a situation in a different way. We're really hoping that those kinds of techniques that people can watch the videos along with Rich that Rich has done, watch the videos, go along with videos, learn the techniques, and have an opportunity to serve time in a calmer way for your own sake. And and um and then also develop some compassion for the child in you who was hurt. Because I don't think that most people understand that the hurt that we experience as children, the trauma that we experience as children, converts to a post traumatic stress injury, which can have lots of behavioral manifestations, lots and lots of behavioral manifestations.
Right. And people don't realize that development is what develops you for the rest of your life, right? And
Well, it can unless there's an intervention.
right, right.
Yeah.
And you start changing and shifting your thinking. And I've used that finger tap so much now in my practice.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
It works, right?
It works. It works for a lot of people. I've used it to help with people with public speaking. I've used it to help people on the yard when they're being triggered because there's too many people living with incarceration all around them, like, and just tapping their leg, no one can see it, like, tapping the foot, like whatever it is, it keeps them, in a safe place. I've taught people that in groups just because they need something to hold on to, but it's really them being able to slow the breathing down so they don't react, so that all these other consequences don't happen to them.
Exactly. I love the fact that you are actually using some of the techniques and finding them to be helpful. And I would love to be able to have an opportunity to actually work with people who work in the prison system to teach them these things, to take the book inside and use it as a guide, because it really can be a guide for therapists who are working inside, or just anybody who's working on the inside, to help to de-escalate conflict.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely plan on taking some copies on some of the prisons that I work with, so that they can have that on site, because I mean, it is such an amazing thing, but it comes with so many tools. It's the tools you get. Like, you can't get that anywhere else, right? And these are tailor-made.
They're tailor-made, including the suicide chapter. You know that if you go online and look at or do any reading about recommendations for helping people de-escalate from suicidal thoughts, it's all about go to a counselor, call 911 or 988. Those are great for people who aren't living inside. People who are living inside, they don't have those. And so the book, the suicide chapter, is tailor-made to living in an incarcerated situation. The whole
Right.
book is, but yeah.
The whole book is. And the thing that I love about this book is that it's also, we got people who were survivors, or there's some people who were on the inside who helped us craft this book. So it's not like just a bunch of stuffy therapists sitting there and saying, oh, we're going to make this book for people. No, this is people who have some insight into what this is like. And that to me is one of the most powerful things.
It's not an academic tome. It is absolutely written for and about and by survivors and people who have had experience behind bars,
Right.
either working behind bars or living behind bars as a survivor.
Right. And
Yeah.
and the graphics really catch you. Like, Jordan made those, but the colors are so spot on, because certain colors invoke calm, certain colors excite, right? And he has the colors that really like bring out those emotions and those feelings to help someone really grabs you into, being into this book, just really getting into it and taking the learnings that come from
Yeah,
it.
for sure. Trauma informed color palette.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sort of have all the bases covered, which makes the output of this book just so very exciting. And the people that I've shown it to are just blown away by it.
Yeah. And do
Yeah.
you think this book is going to help some of the stigma that comes with male survivors? Do you think that it'll stop some of that?
Certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. I mean, the first portion of the book is things that are true and not true about men who have been sexually assaulted. For example, there's a mythology out there that if you have been sexually abused as a child, you will go on to sexually abuse others. Does that happen? Sure, sure,
Yeah.
but the percentage is pretty low, tiny. Yeah, yeah, and so there's all kinds of myths about that if you're sexually abused by a man as a boy, that you will be gay. Not true. There's a lot of things that just, we've made a big effort to knock out some of those myths.
Good. Because that's faulty research, is what's happening. They base it on incarcerated people already, so that number is going to be high
Oh,
versus, yeah,
okay, yeah,
versus if you base it on the world. Well, no one in the world, like, who's a perpetrator is going to come and say, hey, yeah, I'll take your survey, right? No
right.
one's going to do that. So people think, well, so when you do get that information on, oh, were you perpetrated, you're a perpetrator, did this happen to you? Well, all those people are already in jail. So of course it's going to be 100% match.
And the thing that's true is that childhood sexual abuse is often accompanied by other forms of
Yes.
violence.
Yes.
Domestic violence, physical violence, witnessing violence,
Emotional.
emotional neglect, emotional abuse, and all of those things prevent a child from learning more sophisticated or helpful coping strategies. And if what you see around you is people solving problems through violence or solving problems through drug and alcohol abuse, that makes it all that much easier for someone who has that level of neglect and abuse to move ahead and enact those same things that they see around them. So it's really, there's a whole lot of emotional education in the book as well.
Yeah, and this book is so timely, right? I mean, why do you think it's so timely for this book to come out right now?
I don't know that I have an answer to that question. Do you?
Yeah.
Tell me what you think that the timeliness is about.
Well, I mean, there's so many people right now who are hurting, and there's so many people who are hurting from certain things. There's so many laws that are being changed, right? But there are
Many.
so many people who are scared in our incarceration system who can't talk to anybody, right? Because of our
Absolutely.
world and diversity changing, I think that this is going to reach people in a different way, right?
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. And I think even though there's not as much public awareness about male sexual assault as there needs to be, there's more than there was 30 years ago. There's more awareness about it. There's been more media coverage with big famous people who have been caught as pedophiles. The Jerry Sandusky is the one who comes to mind at the moment, but there's many others. There's many, many others. And so I think that with more public awareness and more maybe compassion out there for the reality of the impact of childhood sexual abuse on boys, that hopefully it will, as Jim says, we're building a movement, not an organization. And so this is part of the movement of providing healing resources for sexual abuse histories.
I agree. It is part of a movement and it's creating change, right? Because we can be agents of change, right? And I think that
Absolutely.
that's what's so beautiful about it, you know, because all those people, I mean, you said all those people who have it on their tablets, just the fact that they're opening up their tablet and they see it has already created change.
And one of the exciting things, one of the reasons I jumped on this opportunity was the idea that prior to the prison systems having closed computer tablets, if you wanted to learn a little bit about childhood sexual abuse, you'd have to go to the prison library. And if there was anything there about that, you'd had to check it out. You had to sign your name to it. You had to carry a book back to your cell that that says something about surviving childhood sexual abuse. That is not a good thing. That is not a good thing behind bars. Set you up for a vulnerability that you don't want. The idea that almost 1 million men in this country, men and women in this country, can open up their tablet in their cell, in their bunk, and read about their own history and read about how to recover from that history without anybody else being the wiser is powerful, powerful stuff.
It is very powerful because you don't want to walk down the hall or have that book saying, victim no longer. Like, I mean, you just, right? But to have your tablet in the privacy of your room with something that's colorful and people don't realize what it is, like that is going to open so many doors for male survivors. That's going to open so many things. On the tablet, there's also an interface that they can work with to send like information, like ask questions and things like that, which I think is amazing.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can do that as well. And, the fact that other survivors made contributions to the book. We have 3 singer-songwriters that are alums of the Weekends of Recovery that discovered their capacity to write songs and play music because of their healing, because of being at a weekend of recovery, and because of pulling themselves out of their trauma and into their talent that they didn't even know that they had. And so we have 4 songs from 3 different singer-songwriters that you can listen to that are on the tablet and in the book to get a sense that healing is possible.
That's amazing. And so what do you want to leave everybody with? Final thoughts.
Final thought, what I want to leave people with is that no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no, if you're living free or you're living behind bars, that healing is possible.
That's amazing. That's very, oh my gosh, thought provoking, and it's going to touch a lot of people. And how do people get in touch with you?
Sandi Forti at menhealing.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandi.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And this is another episode of Just Healing.